In the introductory session of Restoration Age, I mentioned that Restoration and Enlightenment Age is not remembered for poetry. Prose is the dominant genre of that age, where we see flourishing prose, novel, journalistic writing. In poetry, we can say uh, in second half of 17th century, John Dryden tried to compose different genres of poetry as well. But we will discuss Dryden later. And then we see the representative poet of that age, that's Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope reflects wit of the age, and that wit is, you can say, the that wit is the hallmark of that poetry. True wit is nature to advantage dress, what oft was thought but never so well expressed. Alexander Pope, like John Dryden, was a Catholic and outsider in the Protestant dominant society of the 18th century. Both Dryden and Pope, of totally different generations and background, but Pope was 12 when Dryden died and was suffering from Pope was suffering from the spinal disease, which left him deformed and sickly for the rest of his life. Though they had very brief time, that's about a decade, that they shared, and that was the childhood of Pope and last decade of Dryden's life. Pope and Dryden share certain things. That is success in translating Greek and Latin classics. Pope is remembered for translation of Greek poet Homer. He also prepared a new edition of Shakespeare's work in 1725, and he was not engaged in political, philosophical, and religious debate on the scale that Dryden achieved. Perhaps because of his poor health, Pope was something of a recluse, but he was very involved in high society and took sides on most of the political issues of his day. His satires are full of savage invective against real or imagined enemies. Satire, that's the feature of Pope and Swift's writing, and invective satire, that's uh, that's very much insulting and barbaric, that is seen in his work. Pope's sphere was social and intellectual. The Rape of the Lock, a famous mock epic, was written in 1714 when he was in his mid-20s. The Rape of the Lock makes a family quarrel over a lock of a hair of a girl, that's the protagonist Belinda. Lock of a hair into the subject of playful poem full of paradoxes and witty observations on the self-regarding world it depicts. Stolen Locke is transported to the heaven to become a new star. In this way, you can say both quarreling groups, they are reconciled. Fair traces man's imperial race ensnare makes Melinda's hair an attractive trap for all mankind. A linking of the trivial with the apparently serious, which is Pope's most frequent device in punctuating his target's self-importance. In mock epic, actually, a trivial theme is conveyed into a grand style. इसको आप उर्दू में एक मिसाल से यूं समझ सकते हैं कि एक आदमी ये रो रहा है कि किसी ने मेरा दिल चुरा लिया, एक दूसरा बंदा भागा भागा आता और कहता है किसी ने मेरा जूता चुरा लिया। अब दोनों की अगर आप डिक्शन को देखें तो सवाए एक लफ्ज के फर्क के दोनों के सेम है, लेकिन जहां दिल लिखा हुआ था या बोला गया था तो वहां हमें एक जो है ट्रेजिक फीलिंग का, एक सेंस ऑफ लॉस का एहसास होता और हम जो है सिंपैथी शो करते हैं ऐसे फर्द के लिए। जबकि जो आके कह रहा है कि मेरा जूता चुरा लिया गया है, तो अगर जो दोनों ने सेम ही अल्फाज कहे थे लेकिन उसको हम रिडिक्यूल करते हैं और उसको जो टॉन्ट करते हैं कि क्यों उसने जो है वही अहमियत जो है वो अपने सब्जेक्ट को दी है या अपने इशू को दी है जो पहले वाले ने दी। तो एपिक के कन्वेंशंस को, एपिक के स्टाइल को मोक एपिक में बरकरार रखा जाता है, लेकिन जैसे एपिक में ग्रैंड थीम होता है तो यहाँ पर ट्रिवियल थीम इज प्रेजेंटेड इन ग्रैंड स्टाइल, because that's a mockery of grandeur, mockery of epic. So it mocks the conventions of epic as well, mean conventions of theme, conventions of invocation, conventions of subject matter, conventions of comparison, metaphors, digressions. In The Rape of the Lock, that was initially written in 3 cantos and purpose was just reconciliation of 2 houses. Both were the Catholic families, and poem meant a reconciliation of these two, as Isabel and the family of the Peter. But later on the advice of his friend Cyril, who actually was common friend of quarreling families and Alexander Pope, the poem was extended to a full-fledged work into 5 cantos. That's why in invocation, the poet invokes to his friend Cyril, and the and the protagonist of the poem, Belinda. And there is only exaggeration, uh, adventure, or heroic adventures of Homer's and Virgil's heroes that is contrasted with the adventure of Baron and Belinda, who actually go to play cards. And while playing cards, Baron is beaten, and Baron, out of jealousy and out out of indignation, he cuts the lock of Belinda, and that becomes, you can say, so furious for uh, not only the women and the characters in the club, but also the supernatural creatures mentioned in the poem. And uh, it becomes a mission. And in the end, though the revenge is succeeds, but instead of continuing the revenge, the poem concludes on a lighter note when Locke is actually transported to the heaven. That the rape of the Locke is on one side reflection or commentary of 18th century fashions, trends, and it ridicules actually triviality of life, or trivial expressions of life. We can say that was under this spell of the age, in which seriousness and rationality that were much admired. In modern age, we can see otherwise. The people have the right to live as they want. There are some other works of Alexander Pope. Dancier is Pope's best known satire. It is again a mock heroic in style. Two of his poetic works, moral essays, his epistle to two of his essays, two of his poetic work, an essay on man and the essay on criticism. They are very significant and explore the question of man's place in the universe and his moral and social responsibilities in the world. And there are certain lines from these essays which are quoted. For example, a little learning is a dangerous thing. That is almost a proverb, and that is a line taken from Essay on Criticism. True wit is nature to advantage dress, what oft was thought, but never so well expressed. Again, that's definition of wit that is mentioned in Essay on Criticism. True ease in writing comes from art, not chance, as those move easiest who have learned to dance. Is not enough to harshness gives offense. The sound must seem an echo to the sense. That's the 18th century or enlightenment concept of poetry, and that is in his essay on criticism. In, in his poem, An Essay on Man, Pope writes, all nature is but art, unknown to thee. All chance direction, which thou not see, all discord harmony not understood, all partial evil, universal good, and spite of pride in eating reason's spite, one truth is clear, whatever is right. So that is also famous quote. all nature is but art. And that has been taken from an essay on man. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan, the proper study of mankind is man. That is famous quotation. The proper study of mankind is man. That is from an essay on man. Alexander Pope, he was not only new classical best poet, but also a translator who added to English poetry. That's a translation of Homer's work. So Alexander Pope is the most relevant poet of 18th century, represents ideals of poetic ideals of that era. After Alexander Pope, um, we don't see the poets of high rank, but there are certain poets whose poetry is um, thought a bridge between dying tradition of enlightenment and emerging tradition of romantic poetry. It was perhaps inevitable that there would be a reaction to the highly formal, self-consciously heightened, and satirically self-referential poetry of Augustan age, which was produced by Alexander Pope. During the remainder of 18th century, there was an exploration in poetry of new themes handled in more low-key language and forms. Here is John Gray and Gray's elegy written in a country churchyard. That is example. Likewise, there is Edward Young and his elegy, that's Night Thoughts. These elegies are also known for what we say pastoral themes. Oliver Goldsmith, who is a great poet, great dramatist, and somehow novelist as well, he also wrote a poem. Two of his poems are admired a lot. One is called the Deserted Village, and other is called London. William Cowper's The Task and George Crabbe's narrative poem of rural life, The Village and the Borrow. You should be only familiar with the title of these poems. Last, I have to mention the Odes of William Collins. They were thought significant in that time, and we can say that mood actually is also seen later in the poetry of John Keats.